Alright, so, I've been playing a lot of the PTB. If you've been following my channel since the Resident Evil PTB, you know I tend to spend an unhealthy amount of time on these things when they come out, so I think I can safely talk about everything that's going on in this PTB, and there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, so let's just get into this, I guess. I've got a little bullet point in front of me, a little notepad, if you will, and I've got almost 2 pages worth of bullet points I want to talk about and no solid script, so let's just move on through this. Alright, starting off with a new survivor. She's cute, I guess. She's kind of loud when she's not crouching, but she's also way quieter than most when she is crouching, so I don't know how I feel about that. Moving on to her perks, let's start off with the boons. Boons leave a lot to be desired. I think they could have handled this mechanic better, but I don't think it's unsalvageable. Just as a blanket change to boons, I think whenever a killer snuffs out a boon, if they have an inactive hex perk, the hex perk will reignite whenever the totem is snuffed out, so instead of snuffing it out, you are more corrupting the blessing. If they have more than one hex perk, I'd say just make it random. That way there's a little bit of a downside to running Undying, because right now there's no reason not to run Undying other than losing a perk slot. But if it's like a 50-50 chance between you getting Ruin or Undying back if you kick out a boon totem, I think that would be good. It would also make boon totems kind of like a back and forth, and it would really incentivize survivors to hide their boon totems, because if the killer finds it, it takes them 1 second to stomp it out, and then all of a sudden Ruin might come back. I will say with things like Devour Hope and Third Seal, I don't think stacks should carry over. I think that's fair. And a lot of hex perks, you don't really need progress, or progress isn't hard to get back. I personally really like that change. I could see some people arguing that'd be a little too strong, but it's not like survivors are forced to use boon totems. Yeah, you might get a couple situations where somebody screws over your team by making a boon totem in a really bad spot, but you're always going to get screwed over by your teammates. It's Dead by Daylight. What do you expect at this point? If you're playing this game and not expecting to get screwed over by your teammates, you should go play a different game. What that game is, I don't know, but you should go play one. Maybe like Skyrim, I don't know, some kind of single-player game. Okay, on to boon, like specifically which ones. I think Shadow Step is good. With the boon changes, like the blanket boon changes I said earlier, I think Shadow Step is perfectly fine. I like it. It's nice to have an actually good aura blocking perk. Circle of Healing, on the other hand, absolutely ridiculously busted. Keep the self-care thing as is, that's fine, because it basically takes the same amount of time as regular self-care if you have to light a totem every time you want to self-care, but if you have it up, then self-care at the same time. I think it's fine as is. Just make the healing speed 75% and not make it non-stacking. And the reason I say 75% is so that way there's still room for We're Gonna Live Forever. Or not We're Gonna Live Forever, We'll Make It in the meta. Right now, We'll Make It is just barely becoming meta, and this perk comes out and basically does everything it does 20 times better, so I think just make it 75%. That way it's still a really good boost, but it's not like stepping on Will Make It's toes as much. Clairvoyance, I want to talk about Clairvoyance. I know this isn't a boon one, but it is Michaela's third perk, and I actually like Clairvoyance. I like the idea behind it. I just think that maybe either it should become an active ability while you're standing completely still, so that way it doesn't mess with like Dead Heart or anything, but while you're standing completely still, you can see it, and this way you can use it with things like flashbangs to see where hooks are, use it with maps to get a lot of information on your map, or make it to where, keep it as it is, or make it to where pallets and windows are revealed while you're using it. I don't think that would be too strong over Windows of Opportunity, which we'll get to later, because I think Windows of Opportunity is actually possibly meta now, surprisingly, because it's a very limited amount of time and you have to waste totems in order to get it. But I think that would make a good change, and it would really help make the perk better. Babysitter. Babysitter change is everything I wanted. The duration, I am a little confused about the object thing, because I can't tell if the killers can actually see me, because sometimes it seems like they can, and other times it seems like they can't. So I don't really know how that works. The description no longer says that it does, that they see your aura, but I thought that was like a core part of the perk design, was that the survivor and the killer could see each other, so I'm not quite sure about that one. Any means necessary. The new buff to it is basically better alert. I'm just gonna say it. There's no reason to run alert now that Any Means Necessary is in the game as it is. I think giving it... Well, I don't know, because I like the idea of Any Means Necessary being meta, which I think in its current state it very well could be. You get to pick up pallets, and you also get a lot of information on which pallets are getting used. So you could argue, so it's absolutely better than alert, because you can also see the pallets shake when they get broken at close range. At medium and long range, you could just see the aura or disappear when the killer kicks it or when it gets flipped. So you basically have all the information that matters with alert outside of kicking walls and generators. But let's be real, you don't really need to know that nearly as much as you need to know when pallets get dropped and when they get broken. So overall, very, very good perk. Probably meta. You're going to be seeing a lot of this, I feel, especially when the patch goes live. And I'm all for that. I'm glad that things are shaking up the meta. I don't think they did it quite how I would have done it, but hey, you know, making perks that were otherwise kind of bad, like Enemies Necessary, Babysitter, Windows of Opportunity, Blood Favor, Thrill of the Hunt even, I think that's pretty good. So I'm all for a lot of the perk changes. I said perk. The other ones I'm not too sure about. Speaking of Blood Favor and Windows, very good meta. There's not really much to talk about it. Windows plus open-handed is just insane, but I feel like everybody kind of knows that open-handed makes any decent aura perk like Bond incredibly just strong, and it does it to the whole team, so especially in like Survive with Friends. I don't know why you'd need these aura perks in Survive with Friends, but if you wanted to run them, it's very nice. Blood Favor, I think it's great. I'm glad that it's actually good. Blood Favor is a perk I've wanted to be good for a long time, and when it first came out, I really tried to make it good, but I just really, really couldn't do it, admittedly, so... Because all the killers it was good on normally had ways to deal with pallets anyways, so yeah. But now with its current change, with it applying on special attacks and not having a cooldown, perfect. It's awesome. It's really strong, but it's awesome, and it is a hex perk, and you can get rid of them. Okay, Thrill of the Hunt. I think Thrill of the Hunt, I'm going to go off of the patch notes and not how it actually works. Thrill of the Hunt should be, like, basically increasing the amount of time it takes to bless and cleanse totems by 50%. Maximum, and that should be all it does. It should not give you loud noise indicators, although it still does for some reason. I think keeping the loud noise indicator on Thrill of the Hunt itself, like its own totem, is fine, but I don't think it should work on other hex totems. I think that would be perfectly fine, especially even with the new like massive buff. I think it'd be great because it doesn't really help you protect your other totems, but it is really good at keeping itself up, and it always feels really bad when Thrill of the Hunt gets cleansed first, so maybe make it to where there's only like one other totem on the map, then it loses the ability to, so you gotta have at least 3 tokens to get the loud noise indicator, something like that. But I think keeping it on the totem, it's like the Thrill of the Hunt totem itself would be pretty good. Mindbreaker buff, I like it. I'm biased, along with the Babysitter buff, I'm biased because I've been saying this is what needs to happen to these perks for a long time. I really wish they put in like my Cruel Limits buff as well, but you know, I can't get it all, so I'll take the Mindbreaker and Babysitter buff. Very cool. I like them. Blindness, as expected, pretty good. Not super crazy, but it's pretty good, and it can help rob solo queues of information. So I like it, but it's not meta. I'm not going to say it's meta. I think it's still underrated, and I think it's more so now, but it's still not meta. As much as I want it to be meta, Mindbreaker is not going to be meta. Fun little thing, before we get into some less fun things, is... Let's just talk about some bugs, actually. Yeah, let's talk about some bugs. First off, on the PTB, the fart tech has returned. That is FHART. If you don't like the name, take it up with chat. Basically what it is, it's when you go behind a hook and drop a flashbang and then make the killer look at the flashbang while the killer's approaching the hook, if that makes sense. So basically how it works is when the hook will completely block all audio of the flashbang being dropped for some reason. That's not how it works on live, but it works on PTB again, and that was very fun. I got a lot of clips with that. I think I've actually uploaded one by now. I don't remember which one I scheduled them all on. I'll also talk about that right at the very end, so if you're curious as to why all of a sudden I'm a clips channel, keep watching. Yeah, I'm very excited for that. That's something I've missed a lot since like halfway through the Resident Evil not PTB, Resident Evil chapter. They removed that at some point, but it's back on the PTB, and I want it to stay because it's very hard to do. It's very hard to get the perfect angle where they don't hear it at all, and then make them go around the hook to the point where it'll actually blind them too. It's hard to do, and it's very rewarding when you do it, and it's very skillful, so I think it should stay, but I might be a little biased since I'm pretty sure I'm the person who discovered it, but whatever. Another bug is the Wraith and the Twins, quote-unquote, new skins. If you haven't seen these, basically the Wraith and the Twins, and even some of the Nurse cosmetics, I think it's actually any cosmetic with like a really flappy bit of cloth, they all just have like this weird gray checkerboard thing instead of what the actual texture should be. It doesn't show up in shop, but it does show up in game. That definitely needs to be changed. It was kind of funny at first, but there's some maps where it actually makes them really hard to see, or in the Wraith case, it makes them really easy to see, so it just, that definitely needs to be fixed. I'm not one really to complain about cosmetic bugs, but I do feel like this one is a little rough, because it's not like it's black and purple. Honestly, if it was the classic, like, black and purple source texture, I think I'd be complaining more, but, you know, it's just, it is something that needs to be changed. But something that really needs to be changed is, I don't know what it is, but it seems like everything that applies a status effect, perk-wise, has like a 25% chance of not working. Things like Metal of, and this goes for add-ons too, things like Metal of Man, Iridescent Coin, and Blood Warden are all broken to where they don't do the main thing they're supposed to do. Like, you can get 3 stacks of Metal of Man, and then half the time you don't get Endurance. Iridescent Coin doesn't expose survivors, like 90% of the time that you, whenever you get the Sharpshooter scoring event, which for those of you who don't know, is what triggers the Iridescent Coin effect. So those all need to be changed. I'm not going to go over everything that's broken, but just those in particular are the ones that I ran into and really annoyed me the most. Killer changes. Plague changes. I love them. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't really complain about anything that they've done to the Plague. I'm a little partial to the Plague because I think they were the first killer that was released since back when I started playing. Maybe they were released around the time I joined. I don't remember if it was before or after, but so first killer that I really got to be there at the beginning for and be really excited for, so I'm a little partial to Plague, but all the changes are really good. However, I really got to give praise to the quote-unquote meme add-on, which is the prayer tablet fragment, I think. I love it because it's not a nerf. It's not just a nerf. Like, most of these add-ons are just complete nerfs to the character, and you get a little bit of blood points. But this meme add-on, you can actually make builds around, and I actually did. I had a full, like, hour and a half of footage of me just going on the PTB and making builds around this meme add-on and having a lot of fun. And I think that out of all those games, I think in 2 separate games, I had 2 people total between those 2 games, so 1 person each game, escape through the exit gate. Every other game, it was either a hatch escape or I killed everyone, so it's not like it's a bad add-on either, and these were some pretty decent players too, so overall, I like it a lot. The Vile Medic is also very fun. It's very fun to go up high and try and snipe people with Blood Vomit. Overall, very fun. Honestly, probably the best killer changes they made in a very long time, despite maybe the Trapper changes. How you like that segue? The Trapper segue. The Trapper changes are very nice. I like them. I'm not a huge Trapper player. I play him whenever I have a daily. I didn't play too much of him, but I looked at his add-ons. I played like 1 or 2 games of him. He felt alright, you know. Having 2 traps is very nice. His add-ons are very cool. I like the one that gives a little bit of haste. And yeah, that's just, I like it. I don't know what else to say. I'm not like some like 4 billion hour Trapper main, so yeah, I like the changes. Moving on, Deathslinger changes. I don't think they're that big of a deal in regards to what Behavior wanted to do. Behavior wanted to make it to where he didn't have such free zoning, and I think they failed at that because you can still shoot really fast, faster than most people can react. It's just now he's not very good at most loops. By what I mean by that is, like, most jungle gyms, like long walls especially, beforehand you could just barely shoot someone before they got a corner and get a hit, but now you can't do that. You gotta like raise your sight up, but it's really hard now. It's way harder, and it doesn't really feel that great to play. So what I would recommend to do, make it to where he has his insta shot, but if he doesn't shoot, he's got a longer cooldown. If that makes sense. So like when he's shoulders the rifle, he can still basically quickscope people, but like that 0.6 or that 0.6 second cooldown that he has for unshouldering the rifle, I think that should be extended a little bit, but they keep the insta shot. That way he's punished for trying to like constantly quickscope, but if he actually does quickscope and hit somebody, then he isn't like, it's pretty much like how it was. I feel like that would be better for both sides really, because realistically these changes from the survivor point of view, they did literally nothing. I'm going to be real with you. You don't notice it unless you play him, and when you play him, it feels really bad. Like at this point, why am I not just playing Huntress? There's so much more that can go wrong with Deathslinger than there is with Huntress. The only advantage is you don't have to reload with Deathslinger. Also, with his add-ons, I like his iridescent add-on buffs. Very cool. The Hellshire Iron, I think, is really good. It might not be, like, crazy good, but it's pretty good. It also helps counteract the other nerf of his, which is the larger terror radius. However, I honestly don't know if that's really that much of a nerf, because you can run Monitor and Abuse and get back down to 24. You can also run the Whiskey add-on to make his terror radius 24 meters when you're aiming down sight. So overall, I don't think that's too big of a nerf, and it could arguably be a buff because it makes him better at using stuff like Coldrophobia and, most importantly, Starstruck. I played a lot of games as a Starstruck Deathslinger, and even with Starstruck 1, it was so nice. I was getting so many more insta-downs than I would have if I was just playing him on live, so arguably it's a bit of a buff, in my opinion, when it comes to the terror radius thing. With the, obviously, like, the removing of quickscope, it's definitely a nerf, but with the terror radius thing, could arguably be a buff. Spirit changes. Let's talk about spirit changes. First off, you can no longer mind game with spirit without add-ons. Let me say that. With certain add-ons, you can still kind of mind game, like especially the one that lets you teleport back to the husk. I had one person pull that off on me successfully once, but they still got away with it, so I'm going to mention even if it was only once out of like the 12 spirits I played. If I can find the clip of it, I'll probably have it on screen here, but they played it very well, and that's really the only mind game you can do with Spirit right now. Maybe something will change in the future, but right now that's really all you can do. The add-on changes, some of them are a little strong, I feel, like the one that gives Killer Instinct and the one that refills her power whenever she gets stunned, or the one that makes it to where she gets her power back whenever she breaks something. Those are really strong. I don't know what they were thinking about that, but I guess it's better than... Well, no, I think she still has Mother-Daughter Ring, doesn't she? I didn't really play Spirit. I played it mostly against Spirit because that's really where all the changes are going to be noticeable. I feel like those add-ons might be a little too good, but other than that, you know, the changes are pretty good. I think the only thing they need to do to make Spirit, like, really balanced now is just nerf the passive phasing, because it feels like I die to that more than I die to her actual power now. Just make it to where her red light is still visible when she phases, even if it's dimmed a little bit. Just make it to where it stays whenever she passively phases in and out. Because the fact that it disappears right now means sometimes she'll, like, walk around a corner, and with certain add-ons, you won't even see it until she's right behind you, and it's really, really aggravating. Especially on, like, double L walls. I've died so many times on double L walls, it's to the point where I just don't even play them. I just insta-drop that pallet against the Spirit now and try and make as much distance as possible, because I've died too many times to that passive phasing, especially with the add-on. So just do that, and I think she'll be honestly one of the most balanced killers in the game. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. The Blight, I'm kind of disappointed in the changes because they just buffed some of his worst add-ons and they didn't touch his really stupidly strong ones, like the Alchemist Ring and the Blighted Crow. I know I'm gonna get a little hate from Blight mains for saying those need to be nerfed, but they really do, especially with like the double speed add-ons. I feel like they shouldn't stack, and the reason I say that is just because they really break the servers, it seems, and he will, like, the Blight will swing like 5 feet to your left and he'll still hit you, and it only happens when I'm going against people that are running double speed. So it really doesn't feel that great to play against, so I think maybe just doing that would be enough, and then maybe making to where Alchemist Ring gives a set amount of charges instead of just refilling all of them. So that way, if you don't use like all 5, you get your power back, but if you have to use all 5 to get a hit, then maybe you should wait like 1 or 2 seconds to get that last charge back. That's just my idea. I don't know how well those would work in practice, but I just feel like spitballing here kind of real as fast as I can. I feel like that's kind of what changes need to be made to make him like a little more balanced, because right now I feel like he's a little unfun to play against. I've started seeing a lot of really good players just getting real tired of playing against DPI Blights, and I can't really blame them. The Wraith nerf, it's not going to do anything. I'm glad they nerfed all scene, but I'd rather they do what, I think it was True Talent. Somebody sent me a clip where he said just make it to where when you're uncloaking, you no longer see the auras. I think that's great. I think that would be more than enough, because right now the same thing that makes that add-on so strong is still here, and that's the fact that you can't mind game a Wraith who has that add-on very well. Yeah, the lunge change, like, makes it a little harder, but for them to hit you around so many pallets, but still, it's not that big of a change, and plus, if they really want to hit you, they can use coup de grace, so I feel like just making it, like, reverting this change and just making to where it goes away when you're uncloaking, boom, perfect. Showing the numbers on add-ons, perks, etc. Perfect. Absolutely, this is needed to be in the game for a long time. I understand why it wasn't in the game, but just show us the numbers. It's so nice to not have to, like, anytime I see an add-on, it's like, okay, how much does this actually do? Then having to look up and see, like, watch an entire entity education video just to figure out what 2 add-ons do and which one's better to run. Like, it's so nice to not have to do that. Not saying that that's I really like entity education. If you guys haven't seen that series, definitely check it out. I'll have, like, the creator on screen here because I don't remember his name. Great series, but I mean, it was just kind of annoying whenever it's like, Ah, dang, which one do I need to run again? There's one that's like better, especially with the Myers add-ons. It's like, okay, there's one of these that is way better than the other, even though it's technically a worse rarity. Which one is it? And then I have to go watch like 10 minutes of his video to figure it out. Kind of annoying when you're just trying to do a quick daily challenge. Very nice. 3-blink nurse. Honestly, the best way they could have brought back 3-blink nurse. I like it a lot. It's fun to play against. It's fun to play as. I didn't play as it more than like 2 games, but it was fun, so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing against them too, actually. I think I've uploaded a couple clips of me just absolutely bullying some 3-blink nurses by now, so very nice. Vanity Mirror Myers, awesome. I love all the add-on changes to Myers, very cool. Don't know what else to say. Vanity Mirror, the changes are all, give my full support and blessing to them. I really hope to see more Vanity Mirror Myers in the future, because that's always been such a kind of a neat add-on to me, and I'm glad that we'll finally be able to see it more often. The Pig add-on reworks, little disappointing. I really thought that the videotape would be better than it is, and we didn't even get to try it, but seeing how everybody seems to think it works, where it just takes all of your traps out of pocket and then putting it on the survivor's head, I'm not a big fan of that, but, you know, it is what it is. The other add-on changes I like a lot, so overall, not too terrible. I'm glad they added something that punishes survivors for doing gens while the trap is going, so like, if you get 2 gens to pop, now you've got 10 seconds less. And I'm also glad that they didn't make it crazy and it's only 10 seconds, because if you had, like, in solo queue, I can see a couple times where if it was any worse, then survivors could just straight up instantly die from 2 gens popping, so I think it's very great as is. Alright, let's talk about maps real quick. The fact that they closed the secret room's windows on Dead Dog Saloon is a bit of a shame, but I understand why it had to go because of how they changed the doors into there. I guess they didn't like the fact that JRM had his little gaming room set up in there that he liked to call it, where he like jumped in the locker and the killer had to drop him and then he was able to wiggle off, you know, that kind of thing. I could understand them wanting to remove it, so they had to make it to where one of the doors would open, but they also couldn't leave that door open if they did, because sometimes it would randomly spawn with an infinite, so I totally understand. It's a bit of a shame to see such a meme room go, but oh well. Also, on RPD and some of the Cold Wind maps, boon totems can't be snuffed out. Like, there are certain spots where a survivor can bless a totem, but the killer can't come over and snuff out a totem. Basically, everything that's under a desk in RPD, you can't do. There's also a couple spots on Midwich, I think, that you can't. I don't really know why they shipped the boon totem mechanic without having this fixed, because this is a massive thing. Like, I have lost games as a killer just because I couldn't snuff out a totem, and so whenever I hit a survivor, they'd instantly run there, and I'd lose them, especially on RPD because of how confusing it is. Without scratch marks, it's very easy for you to lose a survivor. So that I lose them, and then by the time I find them again, they've already healed back up, so it's like, okay, alright, yeah, sure, whatever, I guess I just lose because you held E over there for like 10 seconds, but whatever. So I don't know why that shipped. I am a bit salty about that if you can't tell, so yeah, make that go away, and I think all is good. One last thing I want to say is why I've become a clips channel all of a sudden, and the reason is that I am incredibly sick right now. If you've noticed I'm kind of rushing through this right now, it's because my voice actually sounds normal for the first time in a couple days, so I really want to try and get this video and another video, like, recorded as soon as possible. So I'm trying to do all the voicing now while my voice sounds normal, and then I'll just slowly edit it as I can. And I felt bad for not actually uploading something, especially because I was just getting back into the rhythm of uploading stuff really frequently, so I'm just uploading clips so that way it's off my mind. It's like, okay, yeah, I've uploaded something, you know, it's not really the best thing for me to be uploading, but I don't really have any other options, you know. So I'm just uploading, you know, like cool moments or interesting things I noticed from the PTB. I'm hoping I shouldn't be sick for too much longer. If I am, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I should have this video and then another one. And I also have some scrapped videos. / work in progress videos that I could try and finish up and post. I'll have those on the screen right now. So if you guys can just leave a comment, tell me which out of these that you would like to see the most. I'll probably put them in order of what I want to do. But yeah, just let me know. Just let me know which out of all of these interests you the most, and I'll try and make it a reality as soon as possible. And with all that said, happy hunting.